Welcome back, baseball fans, to Eliminating the Atlanta Braves video. The Braves had a disappointing year. Of the eighth and final teams eliminated, all finishing in fourth place, the Braves are probably the best of those. And I know what the culprit is. You look at the pitching staff. Phil Niekro had a fine year. 7-2, 94 innings, 2.57 ERA. Carried the team on his back. Paul Doyle was the closer, didn't get a lot of opportunities with just 3 saves. And it was because the rest of the pitching staff let the Braves down. This is pretty much what happened during this era between 69 and 72. And it continued. They had 3 guys hit 40 home runs in 73 and they couldn't win a division. But same kind of thing happened. Not much help from Jarvis and Stone. The bottom 4 guys, Griffin, Lasher, McQueen, and Britton, were all draft picks, and they all didn't pitch very well. Offensively, Rico Carty had 10 homers, but just 19 RBIs. I like to say empty calories there. Hank Aaron really had a torrid final series against the Florida Marlins, but still finished with just an astonishing low 236 batting average, 10 homers and 22 RBIs. The offense underachieved, but the good news for Atlanta is the great offense will continue for some time, and they got to make the right moves in the pitching staff. So let's take a look now here at the Atlanta Braves and see the 69 guys that are going away. We'll flip over the cards accordingly here. What we do is we pull the 69 cards out, and there'll be 8 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. The guys going away: Carty, Jackson, Lasher, Britton, Griffin, Niekro, Stone, and Doyle. A lot of pitching, and 2 hitters who are coming back, we know of. So who is the Atlanta Braves? Who are they moving forward? How many hitters and pitchers? Well, the good news is only 2 pitchers are coming back. And a high number, 10 hitters are coming back. Plus, I can tell you offhand who number 11 is. So this great Atlanta offense can run it back next year with better pitching and hope for better results. We have Hyatt can catch. We have Earl Williams can catch. We have Gale Hopkins can play first base along with Tommy Aaron. Okay. Plus, there's also a DH in there somewhere, right? They can float a DH through those 4 players, right? Then you have Mian at second, Boyer at third, Perez at short, okay? And then in the outfield, it's full. Carr, Baker, and Aaron. So you need a DH, and you'll see who that is in the next video, portion of the video. The pitchers coming back are just 2. Pat Jarvis, now he does pitch 200 innings. What I like about Jarvis, he had a really bad year. But what I like about him is a right-hander who gets lefties out, and plus doesn't give up homers in that ballpark. That's key. He could very well rebound and have a fantastic year. He was a 16-game winner in 1970. So Pat Jarvis could really rebound and help the Braves out. This is very young Mike McQueen. He was, his stats are pretty bad, but he was very young. And as a lefty, a lot of times a left-handed pitcher gets into the lead because he simply gets left-handers out. And that's what is expected of Queen. We're not going to put him in harm's way here against righties. So, with that said, it looks pretty optimistic for the Atlanta Braves. What are they going to do with those 69 players? Let's find out. All right, we are here with the Atlanta Braves trying to figure out what they're going to do with these 69 players. And you're going to love the first guy. First guy is a gentleman by the name of Rico Carty. This is pretty startling what's about to happen to this gentleman, who played from 63 to 79. You're thinking 7 years into the league. He's starting to get up there in age, isn't he? It's going to be fine, folks. It's going to be very fine. So here we are. He was out of baseball in 68. He's also out of baseball in 71. In between, though, the 69 card, we have to say goodbye to the 342 bat, 401 on base, 951 OPS, 13th in MVP voting. Rico Carty card is gone. Devastated, right? Well, not really, folks, because he comes back a year later with 25 homers, 101 RBI, 366, 450. This is not a misprint, folks. 1,037 OPS, All-Star, and 10th in MVP. 10th. Think about that. Think about that. 10th in MVP voting. Leading in the major leagues in 2 categories here. Wow. Amazing. You might want to Google the MVP votes of 1970 to see who was ahead of him. So yeah, Rico Carty is going to come back and suddenly, hold my beer, Atlanta, who just got knocked out in the first round of the postseason tournament, is now looking like a World Series contender next year. We have one guy added. All right, the next offensive player is Sonny Jackson. We have Marty Perez already coming back, but Sonny Jackson, it's a little gray because positionally his value will change. The diminutive shortstop, 5'9", 150-pound shortstop and center fielder, we're going to start seeing that he plays shortstop in 69 and 70, but then after that he's into the outfield, where the Braves have a full outfield. So the question remains, do you want to bring back a 25-year-old Sonny Jackson, who adds 20 points to his batting average, a 668 OPS, or do you just give the job to Marty Perez and find another infielder? What I'm thinking of is that this is a team that really has to work on its pitching. So I'm willing to give up on a hitter. And again, we don't have to retire the guy. He can keep playing baseball. It's just that he doesn't have to do it for the Braves. I understand he did it for the Braves through 1974. And by putting him on waivers, the Braves could bring him back. But for now, let's put him on, give him $100 and put him on waivers and allow him to seek employment elsewhere, so we can focus on our pitching staff. And we're going to need to get 3 horses, at least 3 horses. Plus, we're going to have to get more horses in the draft, which means maybe we'll find some rookies in 1973 to add to the Atlanta team. So, first, it's Phil Niekro. Now, he's already a keeper, we know that. We can at least take a glance at Phil and see which year we think it might be. One of his 23 years in Major League Baseball. Hall of Famer. From 70 to 73, Phil starts off not good, but then 71, 72, and 73, yeah, you have your choice. The beauty is you could let Phil be a flexible season. It doesn't matter too much. You know you'll add him, but if it means that other years are filled up by other players, for instance, let's say it's Rico Carty, we know it's 1970, and there's another 1970 player you like, obviously you wouldn't pick Niekro for 70. He's flexible. He has flexibility in which year you select. Next up, George Stone. He'll have a good career continuing on. Sure, he'll pitch through to 75. He's got a Braves hat on here, for instance. George plays for the Braves till 72, and then he moves to the Mets. Look at that. They'd be in the same division his whole career. Play that line. Now, George Stone, you want a lefty. If you have an in-house lefty, it's better than searching for one on the street. They're hard to come by. So if George is good, hold on to him. Now, 70 George, he pitches on 3 days rest, which is very cool, and a $129 whip, which is okay. It's about what he just did, and a $128. And you could even, this would be theory, but you could very well steal his New York Met card away from the Mets. The Braves could do that. That would make some sense. It makes the Braves better, makes the Mets worse. So George Stone's coming back. And already the Braves have got 3 spots filled in the draft. Next up is Tom Griffin, who was not really property of the Braves. He played a nice long career through 1982. He was an Astro. I can remember him being an Astro. Yeah, he was an Astro for a huge chunk of his career. So the Braves got him his 69 card, a very young Griffin. And I think I know why they got him, because he debuted with a nice year and then he struggled for the next couple of years. So that's kind of why he was a free agent. The Astros didn't tag him. They had their 69 quota full. And I think the 72 Astros ended up adding Cesar Cedeno, Doug Rader perhaps. So you could let this guy go. He's a right-handed starter. You already have Necro and Jarvis. He does qualify for waivers in 1970 if he pitches for Houston. Let's see if he does pitch for Houston. We're going to go to this resource, superds.tripod.com/somrosters.html. Gary's roster page. This is a really cool utility. Great website. You can find all the Strat-O-Matic rosters here. We want to look and see if there is a Tom Griffin card for the Astros. So you see this is a reprint roster sheet. You probably can't see it. It's very small font, but I can see it for and let you know here. So Tom Griffin does exist for the 70 Astros as far as possessing a Strat-O-Matic card. That card exists on waivers. I'm not seeing much out of Griffin until 74, so I'm going to put him on waivers. Mostly because he's not really the Braves' property. All right, 3 more guys. Jim Britton. Once property of the Orioles, they wisely let him go as he struggled once he got to Atlanta. Actually, no, Jim Britton, I'm thinking of a different Baltimore pitcher named Britton, so I'm sorry. Jim Britton never pitched for the Orioles. And as a matter of fact, Jim Britton, we can end his career right here. He pitches in 1971, but not very effectively. We don't have any retirees yet. Let's retire him. Jim Britton. He'll be retired. Next up, Fred Lasher. Fred Lasher was a Tiger. He's got a Tiger hat on in the picture here. He's with them gets a World Series ring for them in '68. Never actually has any experience with the Braves. He was a free agent find. His 69 card was one we used. $1.27 ERA for the right-hander. In 70, he pitches 66 innings for a couple of teams. Nothing to write home about. In 71, he's gone. So it's time to retire Fred Lasher as well. Which brings us to Paul Doyle. And he was the closer. So, hopefully, they can get more production out of Paul. He pitched for the Angels. So, Doyle, his Atlanta card, he was 29 years old, debuting. So he kicked around the minor leagues for a bit. He only pitched 39 innings, so Strat-O-Matic was gracious enough to print his card out, which I'm glad. It was nice to use this card. So he comes back in 70. He pitches 10 more innings. He's not very effective, but what's interesting is I can do a little more research with this guy. I like to push my lefties. His ERA is pretty high. He's got 42 innings for the Angels. There's a couple things to consider here. Let's take a look at the split in 70. Do a little more research here. Well, I got you all paying close attention to this. We're going to look at his 1970 splits in those 49 innings to see if he can get left-handed batters out without even looking at the card. So here we are. And left-handed batters hit 180 against him. Now, it's going to be a pretty imbalanced card. Righties are going to kill him. But Left-handed pitchers, you just want them to get lefties out if you can, and they'll stick around. They're hard to come by. So a 180 is pretty good. Now the question remains, though, more importantly, did the Strat-O-Matic even print that card? It's on 2 teams. It's all moot if Strat didn't print the cards. Let's go back to overview for Doyle. And I'll have to look at that 1970 roster sheet again. But I can look at California or San Diego or teamless cards that are listed in the addendum. For Paul Doyle, let's take a look. California and San Diego. So let's start by looking again. And I'm wondering, one of the things that troubles me here is that a 70 reprint should say 1971 here. Let me go back for a second. Yeah, 70 reprint is what I want. Let me get to a 69 reprint first. Okay, so the reprints for they listed the year. So which is interesting. As you know, for the non-reprint years, this year here is usually the following year. But because it's a reprint, it was released in the early 80s. So that explains that. That's why it says 1970 at the top. Okay, let's go back to the 71. And let's look at the Angels and see if we can find Paul Doyle here as a pitcher. Paul Doyle, not there. Let's check the Angel extra pitchers. No Paul Doyle. And let's check San Diego. Sometimes they put him on the other team. San Diego, there's no Paul Doyle there. And let's check the extra pitchers. He's not there either. And lastly, at the very bottom of the roster sheet, you'll see look at that. There's Dean Chance, Jim Grant, Ron Herbel, Hoyt Willem. Pitched on 2 teams. But those guys pitched in more games. 46 games for Dean Chance, 72 for Mudcat Grant. Those pitchers pitched more than Mr. Doyle. So what this means is Doyle's career is over because he doesn't pitch again to 72 and he's out of baseball. So that is a retiree for Paul Doyle. And so this is an interesting situation here for the Braves. They're going to have to, in the off season, make a deal to get out of the 3 retirees. It means that they're going to have to give up probably one of their offensive players to another team to get a keeper, because all teams have to have 4 keepers, 2 waivers, and 2 retires. And the bad news for the Braves is you can't slide 3 retires into another column because they simply don't exist. You could retire a keeper, be foolish, but you could. You can retire a waiver guy. But you can't take a waivered guy and suddenly create his card when it doesn't exist. So with only 2 guys eligible to retire, it forces Atlanta to make a trade, and most likely that trade will not be in their favor. They're going to probably end up losing one of these hitters in that trade. But that is the review for the Atlanta Braves, and frankly, it's pretty good, aside from the 3 retirees. Rico Cardi, Phil Niekro, and a nice George Stone. Hopefully that'll be enough to get the Braves back onto the winning ways. Hope you're enjoying these elimination videos. We'll see you next time.